Hey, what's up, Aquamigos? How are you guys doing today? Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I appreciate that. If you're new here, welcome to another Fish Friday. Here on my YouTube channel, I post new fish videos every Friday, usually on my aquariums or my pool pond. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about fish keeping maintenance on aquariums and ponds. And just really quick before we get started with that, I have a couple shout outs for this video. So I have a shout out for Gabriela Flores. Thank you so much, Gabriela, for your support. I really appreciate it. I have a shout out for Colston. I have a shout out for Joshua Santos. And I have a shout out for J Plateface Videos. Thank you guys so much for being Aquamigos. I really appreciate it. If any of you guys watching this video would like a shout out in next Friday's video, all you have to do is go down to the comments below and comment "I am an Aquamigo," and I will shout you out in my next fish video. And by the way, guys, if you did ask me a question on my Instagram story that I posted just today, I kind of did it last minute, I will be answering your questions at the end of this video. And if you're not already following me on Instagram, I'll go ahead and put my handle right here. It's at YT_Tobias. And let's go ahead and get right into fish keeping maintenance. So first, I'm going to talk about aquariums, and I'm just going to show you guys what I do to maintain my tanks on a regular basis. And after I show you guys the maintenance on my tanks, I'm gonna go up to the ponds and I'll show you guys my maintenance on those. So the first thing I want to say is that you are going to want a water testing kit. The water testing kit that I have is the API Freshwater Master Test Kit. I'll go ahead and put a link to that down in the description below in case you don't have a water testing kit yet, because oftentimes people send me messages on Instagram or comments on YouTube asking me questions like, oh, my fish is doing this, my fish is acting weird, I think it's gonna die, stuff like that. And the first thing I always say is you got to check your water parameters and see where they're at, because the vast majority of the time, if something's up with your fish, chances are it's going to have to do with your water parameters. So this right here is my 15-gallon tank, and I'm pretty sure I need to do a water change on it. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and test my water parameters. So I'll show you guys how I do that right now. Alright guys, so this is what my parameters are looking like. Over here, I typically say if your nitrates are over 40 parts per million, then you should do a water change. Mine definitely are over 40 parts per million, so I am going to do a water change. I just wanted to kind of keep tabs on this tank because some of you might remember a few weeks ago, I had a big ammonia spike in this tank because a fish died in here and I didn't notice it. So we had a big ammonia spike and a huge pH drop, and it looks like my pH is almost back to its normal level. So anyways, and my ammonia is almost back down to 0. It's not perfect yet, but it's almost back down to 0. So let's go ahead and we'll do a water change in here. I also took all the fish out of here when that happened. I put them in my 20-gallon. But as you can see, there are still some fry in here, which are starting to get kind of big. These fry that I missed. So yeah, there still are some fish in here. Maybe like a dozen fry or so. So now for doing a water change, what you'll need is some kind of 5-gallon bucket. You could buy these at Lowe's or Home Depot for like $2. And then you're going to want some kind of thing that you could do like a siphon with, like some kind of hose or something. So I have right here this aquarium siphon. I'll go ahead and put a link for one of these down in the description of this video in case you don't have one. But basically this one has a primer on it, so it can start the siphon for you. If not, you can start the siphon by yourself. What a lot of people do is they'll like put their mouth on the end of the hose and suck the water through to start the siphon. You do not have to do that. I don't know why people do that. It doesn't make any sense to me. You could easily just put your hand over the hose and pull it out of the tank, and that'll start the siphon for you. I do not understand why people start the siphon by sucking the water out with their mouth. I think it's kind of weird. However, before starting my water change, there's an extra step that I'm going to take because as you can see, there's a ton of algae on the glass. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use this algae scraper right here. I believe this cost around $17 on Amazon. and it works really well. It's not necessary for everyone, but if you do get algae on your tank like I do, because this tank is right next to a window, one of these definitely comes in handy. So I'll put a link to this down in the description below in case you want to check that out. And when you are scraping, what I like to do, because you know, on all the surfaces inside the tank you'll have beneficial bacteria, you know, nitrifying bacteria. So what I'm going to do is only going to scrape one side of the tank. I'm going to do this one over here because last time I did the front of the tank, so this time I'm going to do the side of the tank. I don't want to do all the sides of the tank at once, just because this tank is reestablishing itself and I don't want to kill off beneficial bacteria that might be living on the sides of the tank. So I'll go ahead and scrape this side of the tank, and then I will siphon out about 5 gallons worth of water, and that'll be roughly a 30% water change. Alright, so I just scraped this side of the tank, and now that the algae is all floating around inside the tank, I'm going to go ahead and start siphoning out water. So that's about how much water I'm going to change. I'm gonna go ahead and dump this out, fill it with fresh tap water, and then I'll come back and I'm going to treat the water. All right guys, so I'm back with the fresh water. So before you add the new water, you want to condition the water. Where I live, the tap water has chlorine in it, and it also has some ammonia, around 1 ppm ammonia. So if you want, go ahead and test your tap water. You can test your water using the API Freshwater Master Test Kit if you want, and then to test it for chlorine, I guess you would need a chlorine testing kit. But what you're going to want to use is a dechlorinator that also detoxifies ammonia. So I have Tetra AquaSafe, and I actually put it in this bottle because it's easier to measure out. But when I bought that dechlorinator, I didn't know that it does not detoxify ammonia. So I'm also using API Ammo-Lock to detoxify that ammonia. And by detoxify ammonia, what I believe it means is I think it's just ionizing it. Unionized ammonia is the more toxic form of ammonia. So I believe what Ammo-Lock does is I'm pretty sure it just ionizes it. So it makes it, you know, less toxic. And then your filter will of course convert that ionized ammonia. But yeah, let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and dose this bucket, you know, dose it for 5 gallons. And then what I have over here is this tiny pump, and that's how I add the water back into the tank. So don't be like me, get yourself a water conditioner that dechlorinates your water and neutralizes that ammonia, so you don't have to mess around with like 2 things like I am right now. Alright guys, so this is probably gonna take like, I don't know, like 10 minutes or so to fill up. While that's happening, let's go ahead and take a quick look at my 20 gallon. Alright, so here it is guys. The only aquarium fish I have are guppies. So this tank is actually doing really well. I just did maintenance in this tank the other day. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fast forward to this tank being full again, and then we'll go up to the ponds and I'll show you guys my maintenance on those. Would you look at that guys, it's magically full again. So I'm not gonna do this on camera because I think it's probably gonna bore you guys. You guys already saw me do it one time. But after doing a water change, it's a good idea to check your water parameters again, just to see where they sit at after doing a water change. And that'll kind of like give you an idea for how long you should wait until the next water change, or if you need to do another water change like the next day or something, just in case something's up with your nitrates are super high, you know, just in case something like that happens. So it's always a good idea to check your water parameters again after doing a water change. So for the most part, that covers maintenance on aquariums and fish tanks. It's really not that hard. So next, let's go ahead and head up to the pool pond and the guppy pond, and I'll show you guys what my maintenance looks like on those. Alright guys, so here we are, the guppy pond and the pool pond, and the maintenance on these is actually really simple. So once again, just like how I showed you earlier, you want to check the water parameters just to see where you're at. I'm not going to show that again on camera because I don't want to, I don't want to bore you guys to death, just me showing the same thing over and over. So check the water parameters just how I showed earlier. During the summertime, the main maintenance, I guess, that I have to do, and it's really not a lot, is the only thing I'll really do is I'll come here to the front of my DIY pre-filter. If there's any debris in here, I'll pull it out with my hand, and then this blue piece right here. Sometimes this starts to accumulate like muck, and it doesn't allow enough water through to the pump. So every once in a while, I don't know, like maybe like 2-3 times a week, I just pull that out and I hose it off and then I put it back in. This is purely mechanical filtration. I'm not worried about beneficial bacteria or anything on that. I have a pretty big filter now, my DIY trash can filter. So aside from that right there, the only other thing that I really ever have to do is add water. During the summertime, a lot of water evaporates from this thing, so I add water like probably just about once a week. I go ahead and fill it up, and you could see right here that I actually do need to add water. You can see that line where it's like green. That's usually where I have the water filled up to. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then my guppy pond. I don't know if you saw yesterday on my Instagram story, but I was checking the parameters of this and my nitrate levels are at 0. And I think it's just because I only have a couple guppies in here and this water hyacinth just eats up all the leftover nutrients. Once again, this guppy pond is only temporary. Next month, I'm actually gonna have to take all the guppies out of here before the water starts getting cold, and I'll bring those guppies back indoors. So actually the only thing I have to do in the mini pond is I just need to fill up the water again. So the maintenance on this thing is super simple and super easy. So let's go ahead and start by adding more water to the pool pond. And the way that I do this is I'm going to use this container right here. This is a 19-gallon container or bucket, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to fill that with tap water from a hose. Then I'm going to treat that water the same way that I did for my fish tanks. But instead of treating it for 5 gallons, I'm going to treat it for 19 gallons. And then I'm going to take my pond pump out of here, stick it in there, and pump that water into the pond. And I'm just going to do that several times until the water level is back where I want it to be. And I totally just forgot that the water to our house is turned off because we are getting a new water heater. So I'm going to come back once the water is turned back on again. All right, guys, water is back on. Here we go. And I'm pretty much just gonna repeat this process until the water is back up to where I want it to be. And yeah, that's about it. And I'll check back in with you guys when I'm done with this. All right, guys, so the pool pond is at a much better water level now. Check that out. Now we're gonna go ahead and top off the guppy pond, and I'll show you guys how I put water in there. I don't use a pump or anything. I just create a siphon, and I'll show you guys how to do this without sticking the hose in your mouth. Like, that's nasty. Do not stick the hose in your mouth like some of these other people on YouTube are doing. That's unhygienic. So yeah, pretty much I put the bucket up there, and I'll add the water like that. Alright guys, so did you see how I did that? All I did was submerge this end of the hose in the water, then I capped that end of the hose with my hand and pulled it out with my hand still covering it. Once that part of the hose got lower down than this end of the hose in there, I could let go and the water would flow out. It would create a siphon. Like, I always thought that would be like common sense, but it surprises me when I watch other YouTubers and they're like sucking on the end of the hose with their mouth. Like, it doesn't make any sense. There's no need for that. Let's see if I can catch any of the guppies on camera. Oh, we can see some of them. So anyways, guys, that's my maintenance done on the pool pond and the guppy pond, I mean, it's really simple. It's exactly like how you would do maintenance on an aquarium, just on a bigger scale. You know, if you check your water parameters and you have like really high nitrates, kind of like how I did in my tank down there when I did the water change, then you need to do a water change on your pond just like you would do on an aquarium. So pretty much with whatever you have, the principles pretty much stay the same. You know, in the beginning, I would recommend checking your water parameters pretty often, kind of get a gauge for how often you have to do water changes. Once you've kind of established that, you can kind of just check your parameters periodically, make sure nothing's wrong. If you ever notice a change in behavior of your fish, or you notice an algae bloom, or a fish dies, the first thing you gotta do is check those water parameters, because most of the time, that's going to be the reason why things are going wrong. So anyways, guys, I hope that helps you guys out. What I'm going to do right now is I posted on my Instagram story that I would answer any questions that you guys have. So I got a couple questions. I should have made this Instagram post like before today so that, you know, people would have the full 24 hours to submit a question, but I got a couple, so I'll go ahead and answer those right now. All right, guys, so I'm just gonna answer these questions in the order that I got them. So my first question is from Tia. Are you ever going to get turtles? Don't get me wrong, I would love to get turtles. I'm not gonna get turtles for this pool pond. I don't even really have a plan for getting turtles, but one day I would love to get turtles, but I would most likely want to do like a separate pond for those. Not sure when that'll happen, but I think it would be really cool to get turtles. My next question is from Tank Keeper 2. How many fish do you think you have? That is a really tough question because I have a whole bunch of tiny fish. So I mean, like, including my guppies and including like my rosy red minnows and like my younger goldfish, I mean, let's just say 200, maybe 200 fish in total. I don't know. That's just a really rough estimate. Next, I have a question from Bailey. Good to hear from you, Bailey. It's been a while. Bailey is also a fish keeper. So Bailey says, love the pool pond and all the fish in there. Would you ever get predator fish like Oscars? I think that would be really cool to get like Oscars or something like that. The only thing is I wouldn't be able to keep them outside. I would need like, you know, an aquarium, and actually I would need a really big aquarium, and I just don't have the space for one right now. Maybe in the future, but as of right now, I just wouldn't be able to because I don't have the space for a tank. But Oscars are so cool. Bailey has 2 albino Oscars and they're massive. They're really nice. Next, Fish Visions. Least favorite fish/animal YouTube creator. Oh man, that is a good question. And I actually have 2. I'm not gonna mention their names because I don't wanna be like accused of cyberbullying or anything like that. But there are 2 fish YouTubers who I'll be honest, I don't like. I'm not gonna say their names, but I'll just tell you guys why I don't like them. One of them, I feel like he's disrespectful towards fish. Just straight up, that's why I do not like this guy. He's a very big fish YouTuber. It's not Paul Cafaro. I watch his videos. It's not him. It's another guy. Like, he made this one video where like he was like transferring water from somewhere. I don't remember exactly why he was transferring water, but it was like in a clear tube and he was sending goldfish down it like a water slide. I'm like, man, have some respect. Like, that pissed me off. And the other guy, of course I'm not gonna say his name either, but I feel like he got really big on YouTube for kind of like deceiving his audience, kind of like making up a lie about, basically he said like someone tried to like steal his fish, and it was obviously like a blatant lie, like someone tried to steal his fish from his backyard. It was a complete lie, and as far as I know, he never admitted to it, but I was like, come on, man, like, stop trying to play on the emotions of your audience. I felt like that was pretty disrespectful. So those are the 2 that I do not like. I'm sorry if that answer was a bit vague. Next, Charlotte. Good to hear from you, Charlotte. Charlotte's just asking, how are you doing? I'm doing great. I have honestly nothing to complain about. Everything is going really well. I hope you are also doing well. And I actually have one last question from YouTube because I put up a post on YouTube asking if anyone has any questions. And so shout out to Wow Aquatics. Wow Aquatics asks, how do you overwinter your fish pool pond? Do you have to heat it and also feeding in the wintertime. Thanks in advance, keep up the great work, and as always, I am an Aquamigo, and thank you so much Wow Aquatics for being an Aquamigo. I really appreciate that. So actually in the winter, where I live in the Los Angeles area, and when I first got my pond I didn't know this, but I soon learned that here where I live it doesn't get cold enough to where I really have to do anything special with feeding, or my fish don't even go into hibernation, so I still feed them in the winter. The water does not freeze over here, it doesn't get that cold. We usually get down into the 40s as our like lowest temps, I guess you could say. So no, I don't need heaters, these are all cold water fish, and the water does not freeze over, so yeah, super easy in the winter. The only thing I really do is I try to clear out any dead or decaying plant matter. So my water lilies, they are tropical water lilies, they go dormant in the winter, so I trim off the ones that are, I guess, dying off for the winter. So I just trim those off and take them out so that they don't decay inside the pond. And that's all I do. So yeah, so thank you guys so much for your questions. And just real quick, if you did like this video, or if this video helped you out, I would really appreciate it if you went down there and gave this video a like. That would help me out so much. If you would like to see more videos by me in the future, make sure to hit that subscribe button and also hit that bell notifications button. I post new fish videos every Friday. I call it Fish Fridays, a little easy way to remember it. And if you'd like to follow me on Instagram, I'll go ahead and put my handle right here. It's @YT_Tobias, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Peace.